Okay, so now we're going to do the comparison between the push process at 400 and the push process at 800 ISO. The first shot you'll see, and they're labeled up here, 1 and 1 1. The first shot is the 400, the second shot is the 800. So we're just going to have a look. Not really made a decision. There's a couple of shots I really like, and there was other shots when I went through them thinking, oh, the 800 is more contrasty. But when you see the finished results, that isn't necessarily true. And we've got one bad result here. So this is the first one. So the first one you'll see is the 400, and the second one you'll see is the 800. So I'm looking at seeing how much grain there is difference between the two of them, and the grain is quite heavy on this, but I don't know how much difference that is between this one and the second shot. So I've not really looked at that yet at all. So I've only ever looked at them separately. So if I go to that and I zoom in on that, it's actually not much difference at all. Perhaps a little stronger, and on this particular shot the actual contrast is actually higher, but that doesn't go through with all the different photographs. Okay, and again, this is just the closer shot, so this is the 400, and its contrast is high, but let's compare that to the 800, and the contrast is a lot higher. Now, the lighting conditions were almost identical. There wasn't much difference between the 2 days I went out. That's why I went out at the same time, and we had the same conditions until I got to the bridge when it changed, but it changed back again. So the only one that's got a real problem on it is the actual next photograph. So this shot was taken with the 400, and you can see it's overcast and cloudy, and you can see the grain. This is quite heavy, but when you come to look at the 800, I don't know what happened. It just didn't work. There was no exposure problems. It was set to whatever the light meter said on the camera. So I honestly don't know what happened there. It just really was just awful. And now, I thought I loved this photograph, and this is the 400, and I thought this is great, this is a real keeper. And then when I went back the next day and took it on the 800, I actually prefer this because I like the higher contrast. You've completely lost the background, whereas you can still see just a few little bits here. The mushrooms are brighter, and they're quite a bit darker there. So we'll go back to the 400 and we'll have a look, see what we can see grain wise, and that's zoomed in quite a bit, and you can see just how messy and mushy that is. But so that's at 17, so we'll go to the next one and let's bring up 17, and the grain is pretty much the same. So this particular shot, it's obviously got more contrast in it. But as you see further down, the last few, and the one with the weir head, this is again 400 ISO, and zoom in on that one, you can see the grain there. It's quite strong, but when you move to the next one, this one's actually darker. This is the 800, so that one's quite dark, and again the grain is very similar. But the last shot, and I thought this was kind of unusual, was I thought this was going to be lighter than the 800, and it actually isn't. It's actually darker, and that's the 800 ISO shot. Again, the light conditions were pretty much the same, so I don't know. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that little experiment. I can do some more. If you want me to try out some films, let me know and I'll give them a go. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video.